Have you ever stopped to think about why a certain rule exists? Maybe some quirky policy at work or a family tradition that seems totally random.
Yeah, happens all the time.
Right. And usually when you dig a bit, you find out it started because of some specific real life thing that happened. Someone trying to prevent chaos or, just keep things running smoothly.
Exactly. Rules often have a backstory.
Well, that's exactly what we're doing today. We're taking a deep dive, but we're going way back, thousands of years back, actually.
Hmm.
We're looking at ancient Buddhist monastic rules, specifically for the bhikkhunis, the nuns.
That's right. We're digging into parts of the Vinaya, the monastic code, specifically Pācittiya rules 31 through 40.
And our mission here isn't just to list off rules. We want to find those, nuggets of wisdom, the human stories kind of hidden inside them.
Yeah, to understand the day-to-day challenges, the principles that we're trying to uphold back then.
So let's jump in, see how these ancient guidelines might still, resonate.
Okay. Where should we start?
Let's set the scene first. Pācittiya 31 and 32. Both apparently happened while the Buddha was in Savatthi. And they seem almost mundane, at first glance anyway, all about living arrangements.
They really do. The story goes that lay people were visiting a monastery, basically doing a tour,
Okay.
and they saw bhikkhunis sharing a single bed. That observation led directly to Pācittiya 31.
Just one bed.
And then separately, they saw bhikkhunis sharing a single blanket or covering, and that prompted Pācittiya 32. Sounds simple, right? But the reaction was significant.
And here's the key part, isn't it? The text says the lay people criticize them, comparing them to lay people who indulge in sensual pleasures.
Exactly.
That says so much. Public perception was clearly a huge deal, even then. It wasn't just about what they did, but how it looked.
Precisely. Optics mattered. So Pācittiya 31, the rule itself, if two ordained bhikkhunis sleep on one bed, it's an offense requiring confession.
And it covers everything.
Yeah, pretty much. Whether one nun joins another who's already lying down, or if they both lie down together, or even if they just keep using the same bed over time. It's covered.
Okay. And the blanket one. Pācittiya 32.
Same principle, just applied to coverings. Sharing a single covering is also an offense. But the nuances here are really interesting.
Oh, like what?
Well, get this. Even if they mistakenly think they have separate coverings, but it's actually one, it's still an offense.
Wow. No wiggle room there.
Right. But conversely, if they think one covering is actually multiple coverings, that's considered a lesser offense. It shows this real drive for clarity to avoid any possible misinterpretation.
That's incredibly detailed, isn't it? Like they're trying to head off even accidental slip-ups.
Seems like it.
And both rules mention exceptions, right? For the insane, or if it's your first time making the mistake.
Yes, those standard exceptions are there.
So if these rules seem almost, basic to us now, don't share a bed, don't share a blanket, why were they spelled out so carefully back then? Why was this specific kind of decorum so vital?
It really hammers home how crucial it was for the monastic community to maintain decorum, to avoid even the appearance of impropriety.
Right, the appearance.
Because the Sangha, the community, was completely reliant on lay people for support. Food, robes, lodging, everything. If those lay supporters start thinking, these nuns are acting like worldly people, it can seriously undermine their faith. And that trust was everything. It wasn't just about internal purity. It was about the community's reputation and, frankly, its survival.
That makes a lot of sense. It connects the internal discipline to the external reality of needing support. Okay, so those first rules deal with outward appearances. What about the inside, the community dynamics?
Ah, yes. Because even in a spiritual community, you still have people, right? Personalities, feelings, conflicts.
Human nature doesn't just disappear.
Exactly. And sometimes those human quirks lead to rules. Which brings us to let's say, a recurring character in these texts, Thulananda Bhikkhunī.
Thulananda, she sounds intriguing. Learned and eloquent, the texts say.
Apparently so. But her actions seem to have sparked quite a few new regulations.
Okay, like what?
Well, take Pācittiya 33. This one's about deliberate discomfort.
Deliberate discomfort. What does that mean?
The story goes that Thulananda was envious of another bhikkhuni, Padakapilani, who was a popular teacher.
Uh-oh. Envy in the monastery.
Right. So Thulananda apparently started doing things specifically to annoy Pada. She'd deliberately walk right in front of her, stand there, sit down, lie down, even obstruct her own followers or recite scriptures right where Pada was trying to teach or practice, all without asking permission, basically invading her space intentionally.
Wow, okay. That sounds passive-aggressive, almost. So what was the rule that came out of this? How did they define deliberately causing discomfort?
The rule Pācittiya 33 simply states, if a bhikkhuni deliberately causes discomfort to another, it's an offense. And deliberately is key. It means knowing what you're doing and intending to cause that discomfort.
So it's about intent.
Yes. It's fundamentally about respecting someone else's peace and space within the community, protecting that shared environment.
Got it. What else did Sonananda get up to?
Well, this leads us right into Pācittiya 34, neglect of the sick.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. Again, Thulananda features. She apparently failed to look after her own co-residents. The text uses a term that could mean a pupil or just a companion who is ill. She didn't attend to her, didn't even arrange for someone else to care for her.
And the rule?
Makes it an offense to consciously decide not to help a sick fellow bhikkhuni or arrange for their care.
You know, caring for the sick seems like such a basic human thing. It's almost surprising they needed a specific rule for it. Was this a common problem, or is there a deeper principle here?
It's probably less about it being a widespread problem and more about codifying a core value. It makes mutual care an absolute non-negotiable responsibility within the Sangha.
Ah, okay.
It emphasizes that commitment to monastic life isn't just your own journey. It's about the collective well-being, especially looking after those who are vulnerable.
That's a powerful point. It builds that sense of community obligation. Was there more with Thulananda?
One more in this cluster.
Pācittiya 35.
Expulsion from dwelling.
Expulsion. Sounds serious.
It was. Thulananda had initially given a dwelling space to Pada Kapilani, the same one she was annoying earlier.
Right.
But later, the text says, out of anger and displeasure, Thulananda kicked her out.
Ouch. So the rule
Prohibits expelling another bhikkhuni from a dwelling you've provided.
Yeah.
Especially when you're angry. It covers physically removing them or even just telling someone else to make them leave.
So these three rules, 33, 34, 35, they really seem shaped by Thulananda's actions, driven by her envy or anger. What's the bigger picture here? What does her story tell us?
I think it shows how incredibly pragmatic these rules were. Even in this highly dedicated spiritual community, they recognize that human emotions, ego, conflict, anger, are real and need managing. These rules highlight how vital interpersonal harmony, trust, and emotional regulation are for any group living closely together. Without guidelines, individual dramas can really damage the whole community fabric. They needed ways to stop personal issues from becoming systemic problems.
That makes sense. Very practical. Okay, so we've looked inside the monastery walls. What about interactions with the outside world? Travel, dealing with lay people?
Right, because they weren't totally isolated. Which brings us to Pācittiya 36 and another bhikkhuni named Katakali.
Kantakali. Okay, what was the issue here?
She was found to be associating inappropriately with householders and their sons.
Inappropriately? How so?
The commentaries suggest it means things like inappropriate physical contact or overly familiar conversation. Basically, behavior that crossed the line of monastic decorum when interacting with lay people, breaking down that boundary we talked about earlier.
Okay, so how did the community address that? What's the rule?
Pācittiya 36 says that if a bhikkhuni does this and keeps doing it even after being formally warned by the Sangha.
Or formally warned.
Yeah, it wasn't just a quiet word. It involved a specific community procedure, a formal motion, and 3 announcements in front of the assembled Sangha. It was a serious process.
Wow.
Only if she persisted after all that did it become a Pācittiya offense. It shows the community trying to guide and correct behavior first, using the offense as a last resort. It underlines their effort to self-regulate and maintain those clear boundaries with the lay world.
That's a really structured approach. Okay, what about safety during travel? That must have been a concern.
A major one, it seems. Pācittiya 37 and 38 deal directly with this. Bhikkhunis were apparently traveling alone through areas described as dangerous, fearful regions.
Dangerous and fearful. That sounds bad.
Rule 37 covered travel within their local district. 38 covered travel outside it. And the reason given is stark. Ruffians molested them. It highlights a very real physical danger they faced.
Goodness. How did they define dangerous and fearful back then? Did they have specific criteria?
They did, actually. Dangerous meant areas where you could see signs of robbers, like their hideouts, or places they'd obviously stopped to eat or rest.
Okay.
And fearful was even more direct. Places where people had actually seen others who had been killed, robbed, or assaulted by robbers.
Grim stuff.
Very.
Yeah.
So the rules are simple. Don't travel alone in such areas. You needed a companion, or potentially some means of protection, although the texts usually emphasize having a companion. It really grounds you in the vulnerabilities they faced.
Absolutely. Practical safety measures. Now, what about Pācittiya 39, rainy season travel?
Ah, yes. This came about because bhikkhunis traveling during the monsoon season were getting criticized.
Criticized for what? The danger.
No, something else. For trampling on green grass, which was seen as harming one-sense beings, basically, plant life.
Ah, right.
And also for inadvertently harming many small creatures, like insects, which are more abundant and vulnerable during the rains.
So what's the deeper significance here? Is it just about avoiding bad press?
It goes much deeper. It ties directly into the core Buddhist principle of ahisa's non-harming. It shows this incredible ecological awareness, really. A profound respect for all forms of life, even plants and tiny insects. Monastic life wasn't just about human interactions. It was about minimizing your harmful impact on the entire environment.
That's a really powerful connection. Okay, just one more. Pācittiya 40, post-rainy season travel.
Right. And this one's fascinating because it almost seems to contradict the previous vibe.
How so?
Well, after the Vassa, the intensive rainy season retreat where travel was discouraged, some bhikkhunis were apparently just staying put for too long.
Lingering after the retreat.
Exactly. And this also led to public criticism. People felt they were becoming isolated, maybe looking idle, not engaging with the community. So the Buddha laid down this rule, Pācittiya 40, apparently citing 10 benefits for traveling after the Vassa.
That is interesting. Rule 39 says don't travel during the rains to protect life, and Rule 40 says, okay, rains are over, now you must travel. What's the actual rule, and what does this tension tell us?
The rule mandates that a bhikkhuni must travel a certain distance, typically interpreted as 5 or 6 yojanas, a unit of distance after finishing the rainy season retreat.
Must travel.
Yes. It highlights this really important dynamic balance in monastic life. You need the retreat, the seclusion for practice, that's the Vassa, but you also need active engagement with the world.
Right.
Maybe for teaching, spreading the Dharma, visiting other communities, or simply to avoid the perception of being withdrawn or unproductive. It's this constant interplay between inward focus and outward responsibility.
That's a great way to put it, a dynamic balance. So we've covered quite a range here, from sharing beds to avoiding insects to mandatory travel. What's the big takeaway for us looking back at all this?
Well, I think what's striking is how these rules grew directly out of real life. Real situations, real human challenges, real community needs. They show this incredibly practical, evolving ethical framework. They consistently emphasize things that still feel relevant. How appearances matter, public perception, the need for harmony and care within a group, basic safety, that profound idea of non-harming, and this essential balance between quiet contemplation and active engagement.
And the exceptions, too.
Exactly. The fact that there are nearly always exceptions for illness, insanity, emergencies, first offenses, shows a kind of compassion, doesn't it? A flexibility, an understanding that humans aren't perfect, even within a strict code.
Absolutely. It really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What modern rules, formal ones at work, or just informal social rules we follow are driven by those same ancient concerns. Things like public image, getting along with people, maybe even our environmental impact.
That's a great question.
And how often do we actually stop to consider the why behind those rules instead of just, following the what? Something to definitely mull over.